10 crazy theories that will happen in 2026. And the last one of all is by far the craziest. By the way, if you've put this video on in the background while you're doing something because you saw it's a very long video, let me know in the comments what you're doing. As you know, I love reading your comments and I'm very curious. And for those who put it on to sleep, a goodnight kiss. Theory number 1, Loki unleashes all his power. Can you imagine Loki using 100% of his power? Well, get ready, because all indications are that 2026 will finally be the year when we see Loki's fruit revealed in all its glory. In chapter 1170, we finally saw him bite this mysterious Elbaf fruit. We saw its gigantic silhouette unleashing an attack against Harold, but Oda played us. He didn't reveal what the fruit was. He only left us that monstrous shadow to drive us absolutely crazy with curiosity. Literally, just a damn shadow. And we all kept shouting, but what fruit is it, Oda? The mystery surrounding it is still at its peak today. What in the world did Loki eat? Seriously, I'm asking again, what exactly has Loki eaten? And no one has any idea. The only thing we can assume is that this silhouette suggests a huge beastly form, but Oda, very cleverly, has chosen to conceal it on purpose. We can deduce from Elbaf's clues and Loki himself, who is linked to Norse mythology, some creature or deity from those legends, but absolutely nothing is confirmed. And of course, it has us all biting our nails, filled with such great impatience. With every single chapter that passes, and the fruit still unrevealed, the anticipation just keeps on rising. People are making crazy theories all over the internet, and Oda, in his silence, is truly fueling all the hype. And for that very reason, I'm convinced that in 2026, we'll finally see Loki unleash his fruit to its maximum potential, meaning we'll see him use it at full power. Finally, we'll know what model of fruit it is, and we'll see him in his complete form, that animal Zoan form, perhaps even in his hybrid form. Ultimately, we will finally discover his true ability, the mystery will finally come to an end, we will finally comprehend what power it truly is, and why Oda kept it concealed from us for such a long time. It's going to be a truly historic moment in the manga, you'll see. And above all, we'll discover just how far Loki can go when he unleashes his full potential without any restrictions. And what could he possibly use all this colossal, overwhelming power for? Well, just imagine this scene. Loki, all by himself, facing an entire army of immortal giants. Exactly, I'm talking about the giants Imu controls with the Domi Reversi and Elbaf. There are Dori, Broji, and all the other legendary giants who are now transformed into something that makes them practically invincible under that dark influence. It would be a situation similar to what happened with Harold, but multiplied by 10. A whole horde of possessed titans, just laying waste to everything. To defeat every single one of them, Loki would have to unleash absolutely all of his power. He wouldn't be able to hold anything back at all. It would be the absolute perfect moment to witness him fighting at 100%. Don't you agree? It would be truly epic beyond anything we've ever seen. The very survival of Elbaf itself could truly hinge on Loki giving his absolute all in this battle. Can you even begin to imagine the legendary thrashing that would ensue? Loki, transformed into his mythological beast, throwing himself against dozens of zombie giants. That would be one of the most brutal scenes in the entire series. By the time this comes out in anime, your monitor screen will be vibrating with pure excitement, and manga readers would go completely crazy seeing Loki in full berserker mode. And let's remember, Loki was chained for a very long time. They kept him prisoner, his powers contained for many years, and perhaps this temporarily drained his strength. But we all know how shonen work. They're not going to nerf Loki permanently just because he was imprisoned for a time. Can you imagine the sheer accumulated rage that Loki must be feeling? The moment he breaks free from those chains, both metaphorical and literal, he's going to come back with all his fury. He'll be like an unstoppable whirlwind. You just wait and see. With all of this in mind, this theory doesn't even strike me as, well, risky. I would barely even call it a theory. It's something that absolutely has to happen. Oda has been generating far too much hype for us with that darn Loki fruit not to show it to us soon. The anticipation it has generated is truly enormous, and it's already becoming quite suspicious that it's taking such an incredibly long time to reveal it. I'm betting that it will be at the very beginning of this year, 2026, or at the absolute latest by mid-year, when we finally get to see Loki's fruit in action, in its full magnificent splendor. Come on, it's now or never. I can't imagine us going past 2026 without knowing. As I've already said, I'm not going to commit to what fruit Loki exactly has. Honestly, I'd rather not risk saying it's this creature, and then be wrong without a clear idea. But from everything we know, it's surely something drawn from Nordic legends, some monster or ancient god unique to Elbaf's mythology. And this is where I ask all of you, what devil fruit do you think Loki possesses? Do you have any wild theories or any clues you might have noticed out there? Will it be a specific mythological creature, a type of Norse god, or something totally unexpected? Leave your opinion and your why in the comments. I'll be reading to see what ideas you come up with and who guesses correctly when it's finally revealed. Let's move on to the second. Theory number 2, could we see the death of a giant in Elbaf? Will a major death happen in One Piece in 2026? It sounds harsh, I know, but brace yourself. I believe one of the 2 legendary giants from Elbaf is going to die in this arc. Yes, Dory or Bragi. One of them could fall at the end of the battle. Get ready for what could be a possible tragedy. But why am I saying this? Well, right now, Dory and Bragi are at the most critical point in their entire history. Oda introduced them centuries ago in Little Garden, remember? They practically appeared solely to demonstrate the very existence of giants in this world. Later, he reinforced that these 2 were absolutely key in Elbaf, making it abundantly clear just how important they are among their people. And finally, here we are, in their homeland, with both of them playing a truly relevant role, although tragically under the control of Imu-Sama Reversi. This is the point that Oda has been wanting to reach with them for years. Finally, he is showing us the true purpose for which he introduced them into the story. Dory and Bragi are parallel characters, almost like brothers to each other. They adore each other deeply. They are very similar yet perfectly complementary, truly 2 sides of the same coin. For this very reason, I find it quite probable that one of them will ultimately sacrifice themselves for the other. Let's be realistic, after the Elbaf arc, these 2 characters won't really have much more of a significant role in the overall story. We're entering the final stretch of One Piece, getting closer and closer to the final war, and this Elbaf arc is truly the peak moment for the giants in the entire series. If Oda wants to give us a strong emotional punch, it's now or never, and boy does the Elbaf arc desperately need that emotional impact. So far, it's been epic and entertaining, with incredible moments and a brutal flashback of Loki with Rox D. Zebek. But we're missing in the present that tear-jerking moment, that event that leaves our hearts in a knot and could be more impactful than the deaths of Dory or Bragi. The loss of one of these giants would be an indelible moment, a before and after that would make us remember this arc for its tragedy. Look at the situation they're in. Both are possessed by the Domi Reversi, forced to fight against their will. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if to break free from this control, one of them ends up sacrificing themselves. Imagine Bragi, for example, realizing that the only way to break Dory's control is to give his own life. He could launch himself directly at Imu, face him without fear, and if necessary, self-destruct, taking the enemy down with him. It would cause something similar to what we saw with Harold. Do you remember what Harold did? Well, one of them could perfectly well do the same thing, a final heroic act to save the other. It would be heartbreaking, yes, but it would give the survivor a brutal motivation to fight with even more rage against the world government. Well, him and the rest of Elbaf, can you imagine the fury of the surviving giant? He would have an unshakable personal motive to take down Imu and his henchmen. Now there's an even more extreme option, that Oda decides to take out both of them. After all, Dory and Bragi are an inseparable duo, reflections of one another. It could sound almost poetic for both to fall together, like the brothers in arms they are. But let's be honest, in One Piece, it's already hard for one character to die. Imagine 2 dying, and on top of that, characters so beloved by fans. It sounds to me like it's too drastic, especially while they are in their own land with their own people. It would be the ultimate tragedy, a very risky narrative decision. Frankly, I'd find it hard to believe Oda would be so bold. The only reason I doubt we'll see this in 2026 is a matter of timing. If the Elbaf arc ends or reaches its climax before the year is over, I find it quite likely that one or even both of them die in this final stretch. Otherwise, if Elbaf is prolonged further and its ending is postponed until the year 2027, then this tragedy might be delayed. Despite all that, the truth is, I'm absolutely convinced it will happen sooner or later. I have a very strong feeling that one of these giants won't make it out of Elbaf alive, and the only thing holding me back from declaring it's definitely 2026 is the publishing schedule. As always, I want to know what you all think. Do you believe Bragi will die, Dory? Perhaps both. Do you think some other unexpected character might fall in their place? And how do you imagine this death would actually happen if it occurs? And now, let's move on to theory number 3. By the way, I just realized you still haven't liked the video and haven't subscribed to the channel yet. And also, you haven't hit the like button. And if you're truly enjoying the video, please hit it. That helps me out a lot. Theory number 3, music will free the giants. How do you defeat a mind control technique that turns your own allies into enemies? With music. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? My theory is that the key to defeating Imu's Domi Reversi in Elbaf would be the drums of liberation and a good song. The big problem right now is the Domi Reversi. We have an army of our giant friends, like Dory and Broggy, who are possessed by Imu and ravaging the island against their own will. Obviously, we don't want to kill them to stop this threat. The ideal solution is to free them from this cursed technique. But how do we break this control? In the God Valley flashback, we saw that when Rock's D, Zebek had the Domi Reversi technique used on him. The only way to set him free was by giving him a truly monumental beating until the enchantment was completely undone. Frankly, I would really like Oda to better explain why the technique breaks like that, if it has to do with Conqueror's Haki or some other important factor, because right now, despite the information we have, it's still quite ambiguous. Do you really have to beat your friends to save them? It sounds bad. And this is where an element comes into play that One Piece has always emphasized to us: music. Domi Reversi strips your freedom, making you Imu's puppet, bringing out the worst in you under his control. And who is its natural enemy? Exactly, Luffy, the warrior of liberation, Nika himself. Now, this doesn't mean Luffy will magically free everyone just by snapping his fingers, but I believe the key lies in the drums of liberation. From the series start, Luffy always wanted a musician for his crew. Oda made it clear that music mattered, and it's no coincidence we have Brook as a musician, nor that Luffy has that special drum beat. I can just picture the scene. Luffy appears in Elbaf with the rumbling of the drums of liberation sounding at full blast. The giants, even while controlled, hear that liberating thump thump, and something starts to awaken within them. That's a pretty straightforward option, that Nika's simple sound slowly brings them back to their senses. But it could be even more epic, couldn't it? Imagine, with those drums pounding in the background, Brook decides to pull out his violin or guitar and starts to play a song that blends with Luffy's rhythm, perhaps even Binks' sake. Brook has power over souls through his music, doesn't he? So, by combining Luffy's drums of liberation with Brook's music, they could create a melody of liberation that would be capable of breaking the Domi Reversi and freeing the giants from Imu's control. That would be absolutely insane, especially when you consider that Imu is currently possessing Gunkko's body. Upon hearing this melody, Imu might recall something from over 800 years ago, perhaps the very song Joy Boy played back then. What if the original Binks' Seikei is that very tune? Imu would feel a terrifying deja vu, not just because Nika appeared freeing giants, but because he'd relive what happened centuries ago when he himself confronted Joy Boy. History echoing in the present. Honestly, this would be incredibly epic. The relationship between a power that curtails freedom, the Domi Reversi, and the god of liberation, Nika, is too obvious not to exploit. This is the ideal moment to see Nika's power in all its splendor, confronting Imu, who represents the exact opposite, total oppression. Here, obviously Luffy will have his important fight, but I believe the focus will be on what Nika symbolizes, on that concept of liberation that has been discussed so much since the Egghead arc. Furthermore, we know that the giants fanatically revere Nika. Imagine what it would mean for them to see with their own eyes how Nika truly liberates them, and they would remain on their knees from the sheer emotion. I'm not sure exactly how Oda will manage it, but I am absolutely convinced that the drums of liberation are the perfect key to bring an end to the Domi Reversi. The only way this won't happen, in my opinion, is if he decides to save it for a later time. Even so, with the flashback already finished and the action in Elbaf in full swing, I find it very likely that by mid or late this year, we'll have that unexpected musical liberation scene. But what do you guys think? Will music be what saves Zoro, Brook, and the others? Or maybe it'll be something else? Can you imagine Luffy and Brook doing that legendary duo to break the spell? Or whatever Domi Reversi is? Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this, and let's move on to the fourth theory, because it's something that everyone is waiting for. Theory number 4, Dragon takes action. Will 2026 be the year when Monkey D... Will Dragon finally emerge from the shadows and do something epic? Many fans have been waiting for over 1,000 chapters for Dragon to make his move, and it's truly about time. Honestly, our patience is running out with this mysterious character, and I believe he will finally act in 2026. Right now, in the story, Mary Jawaz is being attacked. It's strongly theorized that the Revolutionary Army could be behind this attack, obviously led by Dragon. For now, it's just speculation, but it fits perfectly. Who else would dare declare war on the world government in its own home, right in Mary Jawaz? The idea of Dragon leading such an assault sounds increasingly possible. Dragon is the most wanted man in the world, leader of the organization that poses the greatest threat to the world government, and yet we've practically seen him do nothing on screen throughout the entire series. He was introduced in the story over 1,000 chapters ago, back in Logtown, and he remains a complete enigma. It's incredible. He's Luffy's father, Garp's son, heads the revolution, and yet we know nothing about him. What little we know comes mostly from the God Valley flashback and some scattered scenes related to Kuma, and we didn't even see events from Dragon's perspective. We don't know what Dragon truly knows. Do you know more about Imu's existence than you've told us? Do you know the weaknesses and secrets of the Divine Knights? Do you know anything about the Void Century? About Joy Boy? About Nika? In Elbaf, it was hinted that there was a war 800 years ago, with Joy Boy as the main protagonist. Could Dragon be aware of this hidden history? He should be, right? After all, he himself uncovered the existence of certain hidden enemies, such as the Holy Knights, whom he introduced. The upcoming final war will undoubtedly feature Dragon as a pivotal figure alongside Luffy, just as Joy Boy had his allies 800 years ago. But for that to happen, Dragon must first step up in the current storyline. From my point of view, Oda hasn't kept Dragon in the shadows for so long just to have him appear, shout a few times, and fail, leaving all the burden to Luffy. That would be quite anticlimactic and a tremendous waste of the character. Dragon has to be a crucial character, with privileged knowledge and important things to contribute to the plot. Obviously, he's not going to come out and just spill the entire truth all at once, but I truly believe he's the perfect candidate to start pulling on the thread of the great mysteries we've been wanting to unravel for so many years. The Void Century, the Will of the D, the government's secrets. So my theory is simple. In 2026, Monkey D, Dragon is finally going to do something truly significant. That is to say, we'll finally get to see it in real, true action. What exactly? That's the hard part to pin down, and part of the risk of this prediction. Dragon has a vast array of options, and it's hard to predict his next move. Perhaps, as many suspect, he's leading the attack on Mary Joaz right now. If in the next chapter something like this is confirmed, we can celebrate that Dragon finally got started. Perhaps he will reveal himself by rescuing someone crucial or by confronting face-to-face with a high-ranking member of the world government. Maybe we will finally see what his power is, if he possesses a devil fruit or some brilliant strategy from him that leaves us completely speechless. The important thing is that 2026 be the year Dragon takes his first steps onto the main stage, and I sincerely hope they are not isolated steps. If Dragon makes his move in 2026, may he continue moving in 2027 and beyond, paving the way for the final battle against the world government. In other words, may this only be the beginning of Dragon's open rebellion. But what do you all think? What do you believe Dragon will do when he finally acts? Leave all your theories about this in the comments below, and let's move on to the fifth theory, since you're all very curious to see this already. Theory number 5, Brook and Gunkko's hidden past. Amidst all the fighting and revelations, there's a mystery Oda dropped on us in Elbaf that needs an answer soon. Brook and the Divine Knight Gunkko knew each other from before. Did you notice it? It was a subtle detail, but it was there all along. Brook recognized Gunkko and she recognized him just before Imu took control of her body. The way they looked at each other said it all. They'd met before, and clearly there's a history here. Remember that Gunkko is a high-ranking Divine Knight, one of Imu's closest. Just imagine the importance of whatever she shared with Brook in the past. Therefore, I'm convinced that in 2026, we'll see, even briefly, a short flashback of Brook and Gunkko. We need to know what happened between them, what their relationship is, and why they recognized each other instantly. Our curiosity is killing us. We desperately need answers. Perhaps Brook has a chapter of his past that we haven't discovered yet. Something like what happened with Sanji on Whole Cake Island, revealing an unexpected second past. Similarly, in Dressrosa, we learned of Law's tragic past years after meeting him. Oda sometimes keeps these secrets for later on. I'm not saying it will be as extensive, not at all. Just a few well-placed panels would be enough to understand the context. The big question is, what did Brook do in his life for a Divine Knight like Gunkko to recognize him instantly? That's what we want to find out. I understand some will think, another flashback? So soon. And yes, we just had a huge flashback with brutal consequences in the present, like Rock's D. Zebek turning out to be David Zebek, Harold's story, God Valley, Loki's past. It's absolutely insane to put another flashback within the same arc, and then soon after, it might feel strange or rushed, but it's also true that we are in the final phase of One Piece. It's now that these kinds of things really need to start happening, because if they don't happen now, then when will they? Oda has to tie up a lot of loose ends, and Brook is one of the few Straw Hats whose backstory, apart from the story of Laboon and the Rumbar Pirates, has not been explored in much detail. With his almost 90 years of both life and unlife, Brook has truly seen everything. It's entirely possible he's had important encounters we don't know about. If Oda's hinted at this Gumcoat connection, it's logical he'd want to show us what it means sooner rather than later. And let's consider the timing. A publishing year usually has between 35 and 40 manga chapters. There's plenty of room to continue with the current Elbaf action, and at some point to insert some flashback pages. Perhaps when the battle calms down a bit, or in the middle of a tense moment, we could see Brook or Gunkko herself recalling that past encounter. It's also possible that Oda is saving this revelation for a later time. Perhaps when we are already fully in the final saga in Mary Jawas, or in an arc where the Divine Knights have greater prominence. Even so, after showing these vignettes, which make it clear that Brook and Gunkko have a history, it would be a waste of the hype not to tell it now. If I wait too long to reveal it, the impact of that story could be diluted. I at least am dying to know what happened between the two of them. In summary, more than a crazy theory, this is about when it will happen, and I bet that this 2026 will be the moment. At least to start revealing that connection, even if it's a short flashback at the end of the year. They have to tell us something about Brook and Gunkko. It might not happen this year, it might go to 2027, but I have faith that now is a good time. But what do you all think? What is Brook and Gunkko's relationship? Do you think it will be revealed this year? Let me know in the comments, and let's move on to the 6th theory that could reveal the identity of a key character in One Piece. Theory number 6, the revelation of the man with the burn, the man marked by fire. This mysterious character who guards the 4th road Poneglyph will finally appear in 2026. I'd bet on it. We've all heard of him, but no one has seen him yet. In fact, we only have rumors of him talking about his ship and his whirlpools. Hinoki-Zu, the guardian of the last road Poneglyph, is key to reaching Laugh Tale, and it's high time we found out who he really is. This mystery has been lingering with us for a long time, and fans are truly desperate to uncover the truth. My theory is that 2026 would be the perfect year to finally reveal the identity of this mysterious character. I know some of you might be thinking, isn't it a bit too soon for something so monumental? It might seem early, I admit, but let's consider that as Oda tells the story, he often intersperses surprises even while we're in the middle of another arc. It's part of his style, to show us what's happening in other parts of the world to keep us on the edge of our seats. I want to clarify that I don't expect the man with the burn to appear in Elbaf directly. Honestly, I seriously doubt it. Everything we know about him links him to the ocean. He travels in a black ship that generates whirlpools around it, sinking anyone who dares to approach him. That can only be displayed out at sea. Its presentation has to respect that mysterious and maritime aura. The idea of a ship creating whirlpools suggests that it possesses a very particular power or a very specific technology. Just getting close to him is deadly. He's portrayed almost like a sea specter, one no one can approach without perishing in the attempt. So, how does that fit into 2026? Easy. One Piece constantly shows us different fronts of the world. We can see what's happening in Mary Joy's, with Blackbeard, with Shanks, with whoever, even if Luffy's busy elsewhere. Why not use that to slip in Hinokizu's appearance? Imagine that halfway through the year, Oda decides to deviate a few chapters from the Elbaf arc to show us another scene. For example, we go with Buggy, his crew sailing around, and suddenly, boom, a black ship appears, wrapped in whirlpools. Buggy comes face to face with the man with the fire scar, and somehow Buggy gets the missing road Poneglyph for his collection. Of course, Hinokizu might appear before Shanks, or run into Teach. This encounter is just one example. But suddenly, Buggy would have serious possibilities in the race for the One Piece. And if this happens, remember me in this video, this will signify that Oda watches my channel. And actually, Luffy and his crew wouldn't even need to meet Hinokizu for us to learn who he is. We could discover it through any of those scenes with other characters, like in the previous example. It's just a crazy example, but it could perfectly happen in 2026. Oda has already done similar things. In the middle of Egghead Island, he showed us Garp versus Ochiji and Hachinosu for several chapters. In the middle of the Wano arc, he threw in the whole Reverie drama. It wouldn't be crazy if while Elbaf is happening, we get a side story revealing Hinokizu's identity. That's why I firmly believe that this year we could finally meet the enigmatic man with the burn. Just think, his road Poneglyph is the final piece of the puzzle. When Hinokizu appears, the race to Laugh Tale will enter its definitive phase, and it'll be an amazing moment. Imagine a chapter ending with this character's true face and name finally revealed. The internet would be on fire that day. The fan community would go absolutely crazy. Memes everywhere, forums exploding, everyone talking about this revelation. But now I ask you, who do you think is the man marked by flames? Is it a new character, or is it someone we already know? Do you know who he is? Let me know in the comments what your theory is about the identity of the man marked by flames. And let's now move on to the 7th theory, because if this one reveals the identity of someone we've been wanting to see, the 7th reveals the most important identity in the entire history of One Piece. Theory number 7, a glimpse into Joy Boy's face. This theory is an all-time crazy one, the kind where you say, what is this guy smoking? The idea is that in 2026, we could finally see the face of one of the most important characters in all of One Piece. And no, I'm not referring to Luffy's mother. I'm actually talking about Joy Boy. Joy Boy's face this very year? That sounds like total madness, but please let me explain myself. By seeing Joy Boy's face, I obviously don't mean that he'll appear alive in the present day. No, Joy Boy won't just pop out from behind a rock or anything like that. I'm talking about seeing him through a memory or a flashback. The current situation in Elbaf could lend itself to that. Imu is attacking the island through the Giants and the Holy Knights, also possessing Gunkko's body, and I have a hunch that at some point seeing Luffy appear with Nika's power and the Drums of Liberation, Imu will think, and inevitably, of Joy Boy. The mere presence of Luffy's presence in Nika mode would be a shocking deja vu for Imu, making him relive his worst nightmare from 800 years ago. Imagine Imu suffering a small setback, for example, losing control of Gum-Gum's body, or feeling that liberation haki again that Luffy unleashed in Egghead. In that very instant, Joy Boy comes to Imu's mind, and through the eyes or the mind of Imu, we finally get to see Joy Boy. Now, let's be realistic here. I don't believe Oda will show us Joy Boy's face 100% clearly just yet. He'd probably do something along the lines of, I'll show it to you, but not completely. We have a very clear precedent for this. In Rayleigh's flashback, when we saw Roger as a young man, they didn't show us his complete face. The straw hat cast a shadow, completely obscuring the entire upper portion of his face. It was Roger, yes, but he was partially concealed from view. They could easily do the very same thing with Joy Boy. A visual parallel for us to identify with Roger and Luffy, you know, the inherited will and all of that. It would be an extremely powerful visual nod, reserving its full appearance for later, and surely for when we get the great flashback of the Void Century. Even so, it would be an absolutely epic presentation. Just seeing even a single detail of Joy Boy, something more than the generic silhouette we currently know, would be an absolutely incredible moment, even if we only see his entire body well defined, his posture or his height or his face and profile with some shadow covering his eyes. With that, I'd already be completely satisfied for this year. Any little thing that shows us more than what we currently know, which is practically nothing, would seem truly incredible to me. I know this is a crazy theory, so many things would have to happen already for this to happen on top of that. But hey, this video is all about dreaming big, right? Honestly, given the landscape, I don't see it as too outlandish in narrative terms. In fact, it would be an impressive finale for the Elbaf arc if it happened near the end. Oda took his time with Loki's flashback, and now we're entering the combat phase of the Elbaf arc. This arc doesn't seem like it will drag on as long in fights as Onigashima did, mainly because there are fewer main enemies to defeat. Therefore, it's not impossible that by the second half of 2026, we'll already be in the final stretch of the Elbaf conflict, perhaps with Luffy face to face against Imu, or with Imu making their last big move. And that's where the memory of Joy Boy fits in perfectly. Is it too soon to see Joy Boy? Perhaps. Does it sound like a delusion? It does, but that's what this section is all about. I'm just putting it out there. Imagine that by the end of the year, at the climax of the arc, Oda gives us a small glimpse of Joy Boy through Imu's memory. That would be insane. But tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy do you think this theory is? Do you think it could happen? Do you think it won't? Would you add anything else? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And let's move on to theory number 8, that if this were to happen, the anime community would be completely devastated. Theory number 8, Blackbeard's devastating technique. We're entering truly explosive territory. I believe Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard is going to do something absolutely insane in 2026 that will completely shake the world of One Piece. When I say absolutely insane, I mean a game-changing event, 100%. What kind of event? It could be any of the outrageous things we can imagine. Finding the man with the burn and stealing his last road paneglyph, attacking Mary Joyce directly, reaching Laugh Tale first, seizing an ancient weapon, whatever it may be, but of that caliber. Why do I believe this? Because for a long time I've been saying that for me, Blackbeard will be the final villain of One Piece, not Imu. And Oda has been building Teach up as a truly formidable villain, but he's done it in the shadows, very subtly, giving him resources that are genuinely terrifying. Let's take a quick look at what Teach currently possesses. It has 3. The Road Paneglyph, he stole the copies from Trafalgar Law. Following Wano, he knows the whereabouts of 2 ancient weapons because good old Caribou ended up in Hachinosu and overheard where Poseidon and Pluton were. He has kidnapped Puni, who can read the poneglyphs thanks to her lineage from the Three-Eyed Tribe. He has also captured Garp, the marine hero, who is one of the most important marines in all of history. His crew is absolutely monstrous. Practically all of his commanders possess incredibly powerful devil fruits. He himself possesses 2 devil fruits, the dark fruit and the tremor fruit, and there's a possibility he might get a 3rd. With Teach, anything is possible. His lineage is legendary. He belongs to the Davy clan, being the son of Davy and Zebek, and also an heir to their will. And to top it all off, his crew confirmed their objective, the entire world. On Egghead, when Saturn asked them what they were after, what their goal was, Katarina, Devon, and Van Augur literally replied, the world. Not the One Piece, not wealth, not fame, but the world. With all this on the table, we're facing a huge latent danger. Teach has everything ready to cause a disaster. Nevertheless, Oda has kept us completely focused. About Imu, about the Divine Knights, about more immediate threats in Elbaf, which, yes, are certainly imposing, but personally, I'm much more troubled by what Blackbeard is secretly scheming. That's why I believe this is the perfect year for the balance of power to truly begin to shatter. It's time to show everything. Teach has been accumulating and slowly cooking. It's going to start bearing fruit in the form of a brutal action. As I say, the possibilities are enormous, and here's my question for you. What do you think Blackbeard could do in 2026 that would blow our minds? Attack Mary Jawaz, taking advantage of the current chaos. Find Hinokizuri before anyone else and steal her poneglyph. Arrive at Wano and steal Pluton now that Wano is weakened after Luffy's departure. Announce he's heading to Fishman Island to seize Poseidon. Perhaps set a trap for Shanks? The theories can each be crazier than the last one. Personally, if Teach were to appear in Mary Jawaz and completely crash the world government's party, I would find that absolutely incredible. Or if I were to open a manga chapter and see Blackbeard arrive in Wano to claim Pluton, my jaw would drop to the floor in sheer astonishment. Imagine too if it's revealed that he has a 3rd devil fruit hidden up his sleeve. This man is truly made to sow chaos and terror, and that's precisely what I want to experience, genuine panic. For us, the readers, to truly think, oh my goodness, this man is about to destroy everything. Blackbeard ought to make us truly fear for the future of the One Piece world more than any other villain. Honestly, I find it quite probable that by late 2026, we'll begin to witness the initial stages of Teach's insane scheme. Perhaps not the final execution. I don't expect him to conquer the world in a single chapter, of course, but rather a clear move that indicates, okay, something very important is coming with Blackbeard. What's more, there's a juicy coincidence. Mary Joyce is being attacked right now. If by chance Teach is behind this attack or decides to seize the moment and reveal himself there, the world of One Piece would be flipped upside down instantly. It would be a complete game changer. In conclusion, prepare yourselves, because Blackbeard is going to break the internet in 2026 with what he's worth. But just like the rest of the theories, I want to know, what do you all think about this? Do you think it's too crazy? Do you think it's probable? What ideas do you have for what this character could do? Leave them in the comments, and let's move on to the 9th, because you're going to think I've lost my mind. Theory number 9, we reach Lodestar. Now for a theory so far-fetched that even I struggle to say it with a straight face. We're talking about the possibility of the Straw Hats arriving at Lodestar Island in the year 2026. Yes, Lodestar, the very last known island of the Grand Line, right before Laugh Tale. Honestly, that sounds completely impossible from the get-go. We're currently in the middle of this huge Elbaf mess, barely resolving or even just starting to resolve this entire conflict. And you're seriously telling me that before this year's over, we'll leave Elbaf and actually reach Lodestar? I consider it to be practically unviable. What's more, if I had to place a bet, I would say it simply won't happen. But there's one crucial reason I cannot ignore this wild theory. Eiichiro Oda. A few weeks ago at Jump Festa, Oda wrote his typical annual letter, commenting on the year 2025 and dropping some significant hints for 2026, and he let slip a single phrase that truly drove us all completely crazy. He said something along the lines that perhaps this year we could finally reach the island that only the Pirate King had ever set foot on. This statement obviously made everyone immediately exclaim, Laugh Tale, at last, because the island that only the Pirate King ever reached is Laugh Tale, isn't it? Well, actually, Oda doesn't specify a name. He left it ambiguous on purpose. There's another possible interpretation. Lodestar. Roger reached Lodestar, the first one in a very long time to do so, we assume. And there he felt there was one more island, Laugh Tale. And because of that, he set off to find it. That's why Lodestar holds enormous importance. It's the last island on the log pose, and almost no one ever reaches it. So some of us started to wonder, what if Oda was actually referring to Lodestar Island and not Laugh Tale? It could be his clever way of misleading us just a little, building up hype without outright lying to us. Now, let's be cautious, because I, for one, don't put much faith in Oda's predictions when it comes to these particular cards. Let's remember that in 2018, he mentioned we would come to know a dormant legend who was connected to Whitebeard, and that dormant legend was Rox D. Zebek, whom we have only just properly seen in 2025. Additionally, Oda always says that One Piece will end in 5 years. And here we are over 25 years later, so the matter of temporal clues should be taken with a grain of salt. Therefore, even if Oda hinted at the final island, it doesn't mean we'll see it right away. He might be talking about Laugh Tale metaphorically, or Lodestar, but with his usual optimistic deadlines. Now, let's discuss how it might be possible to reach Lodestar by 2026, however slim the chance. The only way I see is a brutal narrative sprint with the Elbaf conflict resolved in about 30 chapters, which is roughly a year's worth of One Piece chapters. Then we get 1 or 2 chapters showing the world some major consequences and what other characters do. And the last chapter of the year ends with the Straw Hats landing on an island, and that island being Lodestar. Basically, to close out 2026 with the Straw Hat Pirates setting foot on Lodestar. Honestly, even considering it that way, it still seems absolutely insane to me. I don't see it happening at all with the amount of plotlines still left to resolve in Elbaf. Oda rarely goes that fast, so why mention it? Well, because speaking of crazy 2026 theories, Oda himself has fueled this speculation, and leaving it out would almost be disrespectful to the news. Imagine Oda really steps on the gas, and we actually reach Lodestar before the year ends. And not only that, imagine it happens, and I haven't mentioned it in a video where I'm precisely talking about crazy things that could happen in 2026. I'm dying, so even though I can't quite believe it myself, here's the Lodestar theory. But what do you all think? Could something this fast happen? Do you think it's too soon? Will we see Lodestar this year? Even Laugh Tale itself. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move on to the 10th theory, because when you hear this one, more than a few of you will have to sit down. Theory number 10, the shocking death of Imu-Sama, and now we've arrived at the craziest theory of them all. You better brace yourselves. I truly believe that Imu could die in the year 2026. Yes, I know, it sounds like utter nonsense. Kill the world government's great puppeteer before the series finale. It's an idea that at first glance seems far-fetched, but I'll explain why it's on my mind, though I'll say up front it's more a hunch than anything. The first thing that strikes me is that Oda is giving Imu so much prominence so early if he really intends to sell them as the final villain. In the God Valley arc, in Loki's flashback, Zebek and all the rest, the great antagonist is Imu. He's the one who attacks everyone. He's practically indestructible due to his regeneration. He's the one who causes the Domi Reversi in Zebek and unleashes everything that comes after. Currently, the entire Elbaf situation is also being caused by Imu, the Holy Knights, Domi Reversi, controlling the giants through Kunko's body. Even Elbaf's current predicament stems from what Imu himself did to Herald. Imu is doing far too many things far too quickly. Compare him to Blackbeard. He has always operated in the background. His major moves have been concealed off camera or without directly impacting the main focus at the moment. He captured Ace, became a Shichibukai, he made his way through Impel Down, acquired his second Devil Fruit, all of this progressively and almost silently. Since then, as I've mentioned before, everything he's been achieving has been little by little and in the background. In fact, I dare say we've seen much more chaos, fear, and direct presence from Imu than from Blackbeard. And that bothers me if Imu has to be the final villain. Plus, now we have the key information that Mary Joaz is being attacked. And here comes an idea I've been commenting on for years, that Imu's end will start with a direct attack by the revolutionaries on Mary Joaz. A theory that I've been putting on the table for a very, very long time. Imagine a scene where Dragon stands directly before Imu and they both discuss their visions of the world. Imu defending that he controls the entire world to prevent a greater evil, even if that means subjugating all of humanity. It is preferable to have a world that is oppressed, yet still existing, rather than one that is utterly destroyed. Dragon, defending freedom and liberty above everything else. And just at that very moment, Blackbeard appears and eliminates Imu, perhaps stealing his devil fruit, if he happens to possess one, and then seating himself directly upon the world's throne. I know, it sounds completely crazy, but it's an idea that fits with another one I have in mind, Imu's regeneration. We don't know exactly how it works. We don't know if it can be countered with Conqueror's Haki, as happened with Herald, or if it functions in some other way. So a possibility occurred to me that to defeat Imu, you have to destroy him in two places at once. That is, to destroy his actual body and also the body he's currently possessing, all at the same time. It might sound quite exaggerated, but it would also be very symbolic. Imagine Nika versus Imu on one side, and Teach versus Imu on the other, happening practically at the same time, that Imu is defeated simultaneously by Luffy and by Blackbeard. That the two great wills shown in the God Valley flashback, Joy Boy's will and the Ivy clans, end up together. It would be extremely controversial because many people expect that Imu is the final villain, but it would also be a very clear way to establish Teach as the definitive antagonist, giving him even more weight and justifying everything he symbolizes: light and darkness, hero and villain, liberation and destruction. I know it's incredibly hard to imagine this in One Piece, but details make me think Luffy's going after Imu. Will Oda really show us a full Luffy versus Imu fight now, only to repeat it as the finale? That would be odd and quite cheap narratively, and considering that after Elbaf there isn't a clear specific island beyond the All-Star and that many plot lines are starting to close, it wouldn't seem so far-fetched to me that Oda would eliminate Imu now and place Blackbeard as king of the world for the final arc. Imagine Elbaf concludes with Imu defeated, and we begin to learn more about the Void Century through Elbaf, Robin, a flashback, or the story itself as it unfolds, and Blackbeard takes control of the world. Luffy leaves Elbaf without knowing everything yet, while we, as readers, are fully aware of what has occurred. From that point on, the final journey could develop in 1,000 different ways. I insist I'm not basing this on anything concrete, it's pure intuition, pure speculation, but it's one of those theories you throw out because you feel it could make narrative sense. And the point of this video isn't to get theories right, it's to get us excited, to speculate, and to see if by the end of the year any of these crazy theories come true. If I wanted to be right, I'd say obvious things like Zoro fighting a celestial dragon, or Sanji fighting another, and that's it. The fun is in taking risks. So let me know in the comments what you think of this theory, if you agree, if you think it's crazy, if something similar ever crossed your mind, or if you have anything to add. And if you have any theories I haven't mentioned in this video, leave them below too. Tell me as always, you know that if you like the video, you can leave a huge like, subscribe to the channel for more videos, hit the hype button, that helps me out a lot, and send you greetings